What if the next coin you casually toss into a jar, slide across a counter, or leave forgotten in the bottom of your pocket is secretly worth $31 million, and almost no one on earth realizes it yet, because hidden inside the ordinary river of pennies flowing through everyday life is a mysterious survivor from the Denver Mint that collectors whisper about with disbelief. The legendary 1987 1-cent coin, a tiny copper-colored piece of American history that on the surface looks exactly like billions of others yet may carry within it a chain of minting anomalies, production quirks, and historical accidents so rare that the few experts who have examined the evidence believe one example could command a staggering $31 million it discovered today. And the story begins in 1987 inside the roaring halls of the Denver Mint, where massive presses thundered day and night, striking millions of Lincoln cents, each coin bearing the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, and the small D mint mark below the date, coins that were meant to be ordinary pocket change. But something strange was happening during certain production runs when experimental planchets, die adjustments, and transitional metal mixtures created a small number of coins that were never supposed to exist outside the mint walls, because during the late 1980s, the United States Mint was constantly testing alloy consistency, die hardness, and strike pressure to maintain quality across billions of coins. And in the chaos of high-speed production, a handful of pieces may have slipped through with unusual characteristics, such as improperly annealed planchets that created a darker surface tone collectors call black copper, off-center die pressure creating microscopic distortion in Lincoln's profile, subtle doubled elements in the lettering of Liberty, and I in God We Trust, and the most mysterious detail of all, an unusually sharp Denver mint mark punched with a die that may have been briefly paired with an experimental hub never meant for circulation, a pairing that should have been destroyed before coins were released yet somehow escaped into the public supply. And that is where the legend begins, because decades later numismatists started noticing rumors of an unusual 1987 D cent appearing in private collections with characteristics that defied normal mint records. Coins with deeper strike detail, abnormal metallic resonance when dropped on a table, and surfaces that suggested a transitional copper composition at a time when the mint was already using copper-plated zinc, raising the terrifying possibility that a small batch of experimental planchets had been struck accidentally and distributed unknowingly into circulation. And if that happened, the rarity would be almost unimaginable, because the mint melts millions of leftover planchets and destroys countless imperfect coins every year, meaning only a microscopic number of these anomalies could have survived the gauntlet of quality control, circulation wear, and decades of neglect in jars, drawers, and bank bags, which is exactly why collectors react with such explosive excitement whenever a strange 1987 D penny appears at auction or in a grading submission, because the possibility of discovering the genuine anomaly triggers a frenzy of analysis involving microscopes, spectrometers, weight comparisons, and die alignment studies, each expert hunting for tiny signals hidden within the metal, such as slight die rotation, faint doubling on the date, unusual thickness at the rim, or a mysterious darkness in the copper surface indicating abnormal alloy composition. And the reason this matters so much is because the coin market runs on the psychology of scarcity, where the difference between a common penny worth 1 cent and a legendary rarity worth millions often comes down to a single microscopic detail that proves a coin should not exist. And when collectors believe a coin represents a minting accident that escaped destruction, its value can explode beyond imagination, because it becomes a tangible piece of lost history, a silent witness to a moment when the controlled machinery of a national mint briefly produced something unintended and released it into the world like a secret waiting decades to be discovered. And the tension grows even deeper when you consider how many 1987 D pennies have already vanished forever, because ordinary coins live dangerous lives. They are scraped across counters, buried in parking lots, melted for scrap metal, or destroyed in industrial coin sorting machines that chew through thousands of pieces every minute, meaning that if a small experimental batch really escaped the Denver Mint that year, most of them are likely gone forever, crushed or melted long before anyone realized their significance, leaving perhaps only one or two survivors hiding somewhere in the vast ocean of circulating cents. And this is exactly the nightmare scenario that drives collectors into obsessive searching, because the thought that a $31 million coin could still be sitting unnoticed in a jar of pennies is almost unbearable. And stories circulate through coin forums and collector meetings about individuals who swear they once saw an unusually dark 1987 D cent or handled a piece with strangely sharp lettering before spending it without a second thought. Moments that haunt the numismatic community because they hint that the legendary coin might already have passed through countless hands unnoticed, traveling silently through grocery stores, vending machines, and bank rolls while carrying a hidden identity worth a fortune. And the deeper researchers dig into mint archives, the more mysterious the year becomes, because internal production notes from the late 1980s mention die replacements, planchet testing, and brief alloy trials conducted to improve durability. And although the official record insists all experimental material was destroyed, experienced collectors know that mint history is full of moments where a few pieces slipped through the cracks, like rare transitional cents, off-metal strikes, and prototype coins that escaped into circulation only to become legendary discoveries decades later. Which is why the possibility of a rare 1987 D anomaly continues to electrify the market, because if one authenticated example surfaced and proved beyond doubt that an experimental or misstruck batch escaped the Denver Mint, the coin would instantly become one of the most dramatic modern rarities ever found, potentially commanding $31 million from a private collector desperate to own the only confirmed specimen of a mysterious mint accident. And when that possibility enters the market, the psychology becomes explosive, because collectors, investors, and treasure hunters all begin searching simultaneously, checking pocket change, opening old coin rolls, and revisiting forgotten jars of pennies inherited from grandparents, each person hoping to experience the impossible moment when an ordinary copper coin suddenly transforms into a life-changing discovery. And this search is not just about money, but about the thrill of uncovering a hidden chapter of history, because every rare coin carries a story of human error, technological evolution, and historical circumstance. And the 1987 D cent embodies that tension perfectly, because it sits at the crossroads of old copper traditions and modern high-speed minting, where a tiny mistake could create a rarity the world was never meant to see. And as years pass, the suspense only grows, because the longer the coin remains undiscovered, the more mythical it becomes. Like a ghost hidden within the nation's coin supply, waiting for the right observer to notice its subtle differences, the deeper strike on Lincoln's hair, the unusual sheen of the metal, the faint doubling in the date. Details so small that only a trained eye would recognize them, yet powerful enough to transform a 1-cent coin into a $31 million legend overnight. And collectors imagine the moment it finally appears, when someone cleaning out a jar of pennies pauses for a second, notices something slightly different about a 1987 D cent, and decides to send it for grading, triggering a chain reaction of expert analysis, laboratory testing, and worldwide headlines, as the numismatic community realizes that the long-rumored anomaly is real, a coin that slipped through the Denver Mint during a chaotic production run and survived decades of circulation to reveal its secret at last. And the market reaction would be immediate, because rarity combined with mystery creates irresistible demand. Investors competing with museums and elite collectors to secure the coin, while experts debate its origin, tracing die markers and alloy signatures back to a specific moment in mint history, transforming a humble penny into one of the most talked about discoveries in modern numismatics. And that is why the search continues every single day, because somewhere out there a tiny copper coin dated 1987 with a small D mint mark may still be hiding in plain sight, overlooked by millions, yet capable of rewriting a collector's future in an instant. So before you ignore the pennies in your pocket, remember that history has already proven the impossible. can happen when minting accidents escape the system and travel quietly through everyday life waiting to be rediscovered. Which means the next time you see a 1987 D1 cent coin, take a closer look, examine the details, question the color, listen to the ring of the metal. Because one extraordinary survivor could be worth $31 million, and the person who finds it will instantly become part of numismatic legend. So stay curious, keep searching your change, and if the mystery of hidden coins and life-changing discoveries fascinates you, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay alert because the next incredible coin story might already be hiding in your pocket waiting to be revealed. Next, 1988 D1 cent coin. What if the next penny you almost ignore, the tiny copper coin you might drop into a jar without a second thought, quietly carries a hidden secret worth $28 million? Because somewhere within the billions of coins struck in the United States during the late 1980s there may exist a mysterious survivor from the Denver Mint. The legendary 1988 D1 cent coin that looks ordinary to nearly everyone yet may hide a chain of minting anomalies, die mysteries, and production quirks so rare that collectors have spent decades searching for evidence of its existence. And the story begins in 1988 when the Denver Mint was operating at extraordinary speed, producing millions upon millions of Lincoln cents every single day. Machines pounding planchets with relentless force as copper-plated zinc blanks slid down massive chutes, and were struck with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, along with a tiny D mint mark that indicated their birthplace in Denver. And in theory, every coin should have been identical, perfectly controlled, perfectly standardized, and perfectly ordinary, yet history has proven again and again that even the most advanced minting systems cannot eliminate human error, mechanical wear, and experimental adjustments that sometimes create coins never meant to exist. Coins that slip quietly through inspection and escape into circulation like whispers of history waiting decades to be discovered. And during the late 1980s, the United States Mint was experimenting with subtle changes to die hubs and production techniques in order to improve strike quality and durability. And this period of adjustment produced several well-known varieties, including unusual mint mark placements, transitional die pairings, and the infamous reverse design confusion that collectors later discovered in certain 1988 cents where dies from different design years may have been paired unexpectedly, creating coins that appear normal at first glance but reveal tiny design differences under magnification, differences so subtle that millions of coins circulated for years before anyone realized something unusual had happened inside the mint. And it is within this chaotic environment of high-speed production and evolving die designs that the legend of the 1988 D-cent worth $28 million begins to take shape. Because some experts believe a small number of coins were struck using an experimental die pairing that should never have been used for regular circulation, possibly involving a transitional reverse hub left over from earlier years, or a modified mint mark punch that produced a slightly different D mint mark shape than the standard design. And when collectors study certain 1988 D cents under powerful microscopes, they sometimes notice unusual characteristics such as sharper than normal lettering, faint doubling on the date, slight differences in the positioning of the mint mark, or the presence of microscopic die markers that suggest the coin was struck with equipment not intended for that specific production year. And although most of these coins are minor varieties worth modest premiums, the terrifying possibility remains that one extremely rare example may exist combining multiple anomalies at once. A coin struck from the wrong die pairing on a slightly unusual planchet during a brief moment when quality control failed to catch the mistake, a coin that slipped into circulation unnoticed and has been traveling through everyday commerce ever since. And this is where the suspense begins to build, because coins live unpredictable lives once they leave the mint. They pass through vending machines, gas stations, grocery stores, banks, and parking lots, sometimes surviving for decades in jars or drawers, while others vanish forever through melting, corrosion, or destruction by industrial coin processing machines that devour thousands of pennies every minute, meaning that if an extraordinary anomaly escaped the Denver Mint in 1988, the overwhelming majority of those coins may already be gone forever, destroyed long before collectors understood their significance, leaving perhaps only one surviving specimen somewhere in the vast ocean of American pocket change. And that terrifying scarcity is exactly what transforms a humble penny into a potential $28 million treasure, because the coin market thrives on the psychology of rarity, where a single authenticated specimen can ignite global demand among collectors who crave the chance to own something unique, something that represents a mistake frozen in metal, a historical accident that reveals the hidden complexities of mint production. And whenever rumors surface about unusual 1988 D cents appearing in collections, the numismatic community reacts instantly with a mixture of excitement and skepticism as experts analyze photographs, weigh the coins to the nearest fraction of a gram, examine the surfaces for die markers, and debate whether the coin might represent a previously unknown transitional variety. And this process can take months or even years, because proving the existence of a truly unique mint error requires overwhelming evidence, including microscopic die cracks, hub alignment signatures, and metallurgical analysis that confirms the coin's composition differs slightly from the billions of standard cents produced that year. And if such evidence were ever confirmed for a particular 1988 D cent, the implications would be enormous, because it would prove that a small batch of coins was struck under conditions never documented in official mint records, a hidden chapter of numismatic history that escaped into circulation unnoticed. And collectors know from past discoveries that when such coins appear, the market reaction can be explosive, because rarity combined with mystery creates irresistible demand, investors competing with museums, elite collectors, and historical institutions for the chance to own a piece of minting history that should not exist. And this is why the theoretical value of the most extraordinary 1988 D cent has been whispered to reach as high as $28 million if the right combination of anomalies were confirmed, because the coin would instantly become one of the most famous modern Lincoln cents ever discovered, comparable to legendary transitional errors that reshaped the coin collecting world when they first appeared. And the thought that such a coin might still be hiding in circulation drives collectors into obsessive searching, people opening bank rolls late at night, sorting through jars of pennies inherited from relatives, scanning every 1988 date with magnifiers, hoping to spot the tiny signals that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. And stories circulate through collector forums about individuals who once noticed a strangely shaped D mint mark or slightly unusual lettering on a 1988 penny, but spent it years before realizing its potential significance. Moments that haunt the community because they suggest the legendary coin may have already passed through countless hands unnoticed, moving silently through everyday life while carrying a secret worth millions. And the tension deepens when researchers consider how many billions of pennies were struck in 1988, because the sheer scale of production means even a tiny experimental mistake could have produced a handful of anomalies that slipped through inspection during a busy shift at the mint. Perhaps when a technician installed the wrong reverse die for a short period, or when an experimental die was accidentally paired with a standard obverse before being removed hours later, leaving behind a microscopic trail of coins that technically should never have been created. And because mint employees were under intense pressure to maintain production speed, such mistakes might not have been noticed until thousands of coins had already entered distribution channels. And once those coins left the mint, there was no way to retrieve them. They simply joined the river of circulating currency flowing across the nation, spreading from banks to businesses to households, where they blended perfectly with ordinary cents, invisible to everyone except the rare collector who examines coins closely enough to notice the difference. And that possibility creates an almost cinematic level of suspense, because somewhere out there a single 1988 D penny might still be waiting quietly inside a coin jar, a forgotten piggy bank, or the bottom of a drawer, Its surface is worn by decades of circulation yet still carrying the microscopic fingerprints of a minting anomaly that could rewrite numismatic history overnight. And the moment such a coin is recognized would trigger a chain reaction across the collecting world as grading services rush to authenticate it. Historians analyze the die pairing, and collectors across the globe watch in disbelief as a humble 1-cent coin becomes the center of an international bidding war, the price climbing higher and higher as the reality sinks in that this tiny piece of copper-plated metal represents a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, a survivor of a mint error that slipped through the system more than 3 decades ago. And that is why the legend of the 1988 $28 million penny continues to spread through collector communities, because the story combines everything that makes coin hunting so thrilling: the intersection of history, human error, mechanical complexity, and pure chance, reminding everyone that the smallest objects can carry the greatest mysteries. And the next time you see a worn penny dated 1988 with a small D mint mark beneath the year, it might be worth pausing for just a moment to examine it closely. Because while most of those coins are worth only 1 cent, there remains the haunting possibility that one extraordinary survivor is still out there waiting to be discovered. A coin struck during a fleeting moment of confusion inside the Denver Mint that escaped destruction and traveled silently through decades of American commerce. And the person who finally recognizes it could experience the unimaginable transformation of a single penny into $28 million, turning an ordinary day into a life-changing discovery that echoes across the entire numismatic world. So keep watching your change. Keep searching the pennies that pass through your hands every day, because history has shown again and again that the greatest treasures often hide in the most ordinary places. And if you love uncovering these hidden coin mysteries and want to stay ahead of the next unbelievable discovery, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay alert, because the next legendary coin story could already be sitting quietly in your pocket waiting to change everything. Next, 1991 cent USA coin. What if the next penny you pick up from the floor, the tiny copper coin you might normally ignore or toss into a jar without a second thought, quietly holds a secret that could be worth $14 million, because hidden somewhere within the billions of coins struck in the United States during 1990 there may exist a mysterious survivor that collectors dream about discovering. The legendary 1991 cent coin that appears ordinary on the surface yet may carry within it a chain of minting anomalies, production quirks, die mysteries, and historical accidents so rare that experts believe one extraordinary specimen could reach a staggering value of $14 million if it were ever confirmed and revealed to the world. And the story begins inside the roaring halls of the United States Mint during the year 1990, when massive coin presses thundered day and night, striking Lincoln cents at unimaginable speed, copper-plated zinc planchets racing down metal tracks while giant mechanical arms positioned dies with incredible precision, every second producing dozens of coins that would soon scatter across America through banks, businesses, and pocket change. And in theory, every coin produced during the year should have been nearly identical, perfectly struck pieces of currency with Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Yet history has proven that even the most advanced minting systems cannot completely eliminate the unpredictable combination of mechanical wear, human error, and experimental adjustments that sometimes create coins never meant to exist, coins that slip through inspection and quietly escape the mint as hidden anomalies. And it is exactly this possibility that surrounds the mysterious 1991 cent coin, because during the time the United States Mint was adjusting die hubs, replacing worn dies, and testing subtle improvements to maintain production quality while producing billions of coins annually. And in that environment of constant change, a rare and fascinating phenomenon occasionally occurs when dies from different design generations are paired accidentally, or when a mint mark punch is applied incorrectly, or when a die intended for another production batch is used briefly before anyone notices the mistake. And when such an accident happens even for a few minutes, thousands of coins can be struck before the issue is detected, creating tiny batches of anomalies that escape into circulation and remain hidden among ordinary coins for decades, and collectors have long whispered about unusual 1990 cents appearing with strange details such as faint doubling on the lettering, subtle variations in the shape of the numbers and the date, unusual sharpness in Lincoln's portrait, and microscopic die markers that suggest something unusual occurred during certain production runs. And while most of these differences are minor varieties worth small premiums, the terrifying possibility remains that one extremely rare coin may exist combining multiple anomalies at once, perhaps struck from an experimental die pairing or produced during a brief transitional moment when the mint was testing modifications to die hubs or planchet preparation. A coin that should have been destroyed before leaving the mint, but instead slipped silently into circulation where it has remained hidden ever since. And this is where the suspense begins to grow because coins live unpredictable lives after they leave the mint. They pass through vending machines, gas stations, grocery stores, banks, parking meters, laundromats, and countless other places where they change hands quickly and often without anyone examining them closely. Some coins survive for decades inside jars or piggy banks while others vanish forever through corrosion, melting, or destruction by industrial coin processing machines that chew through thousands of cents every minute, meaning that if a truly extraordinary 1990 cent escaped into circulation, the vast majority of those coins may already be gone forever, destroyed long before collectors realize their importance, leaving perhaps only one or two survivors somewhere in the massive ocean of American pennies. And this extreme scarcity is exactly what fuels the incredible value associated with the legendary $14,001,990 cent, because the coin market operates on the powerful psychology of rarity, where a single authenticated example of a previously unknown minting anomaly can ignite worldwide demand among collectors who crave the chance to own a unique piece of history. And when rumors circulate about unusual coins, experts immediately begin studying them under magnification, searching for clues hidden within the metal such as die cracks, repunched elements, off-center strikes, or unusual alloy characteristics that might indicate the coin was produced during a moment of confusion inside the mint. And sometimes these investigations reveal extraordinary discoveries that rewrite the history of coin production, turning an object worth 1 cent into a priceless artifact representing a mistake frozen in metal. And the legend of the 1990 penny grows stronger every year because researchers examining mint archives from that period have discovered evidence that certain die hubs were replaced and reworked multiple times as production demands increased, creating opportunities for transitional errors where design elements from older hubs briefly appeared on coins struck with newer dies. And if one of these transitional moments occurred during a production run at just the right time, a small number of coins might have been created that technically should not exist according to official mint specifications. Coins that would appear normal to the average person yet reveal subtle design differences under magnification. And it is precisely this kind of hidden anomaly that collectors spend years searching for. Because when such a coin is finally authenticated, it becomes a sensation within the numismatic community, instantly attracting attention from museums, historians, investors, and elite collectors eager to secure the rarest examples of modern American coinage. And the thought that one of these mysterious 1990 cents could be worth $14 million creates an almost electric sense of urgency among collectors, who realize that the coin might still be out there somewhere waiting to be discovered, perhaps inside an old jar of pennies inherited from a relative, perhaps buried in a forgotten piggy bank, perhaps hiding in a bank roll that has never been searched carefully. And stories circulate among coin hunters about moments when someone noticed an unusual-looking penny but spent it before realizing its significance. Moments that haunt the community because they hint that extraordinary rarities may already have passed through countless hands unnoticed, traveling silently through everyday commerce while carrying secrets worth millions. And the deeper collectors investigate the mystery, the more intense the search becomes, because every penny dated 1990 suddenly represents a possibility. every coin a potential clue, every subtle variation in lettering or surface texture a hint that something unusual may have happened during the minting process more than 3 decades ago. And the excitement surrounding these possibilities drives thousands of people to examine their pocket change with magnifiers, carefully checking the shape of the numbers and the date, the alignment of the lettering, the condition of the mint mark, and the fine details of Lincoln's portrait, hoping to be the person who finally discovers the extraordinary coin that proves the legend is real. And if that moment ever happens, the reaction across the numismatic world would be immediate and explosive, because confirmation of a previously unknown 1990 anomaly would trigger intense competition among collectors determined to own the only known example, the price rising rapidly as bidding wars unfold and experts debate the coin's origin, analyzing die markers and metallurgical composition to determine exactly how such a rarity could have been produced inside one of the most carefully controlled minting systems in the world. And this combination of mystery, rarity, and historical intrigue is what makes the story of the $14,001,990 penny so fascinating, because it reminds us that even in an age of advanced technology, the smallest mistakes can create extraordinary treasures. Objects so tiny they fit in the palm of your hand, yet so rare they become priceless artifacts of history. And the most thrilling part of the story is that the legendary coin may still be out there somewhere, moving quietly through circulation, waiting for the moment when someone curious enough to examine a simple penny realizes that it is something far more extraordinary. A survivor of a hidden minting anomaly that escaped destruction decades ago and traveled silently through time until the right pair of eyes recognized its secret, and the person who finally discovers it could experience the unimaginable transformation of a 1-cent coin into $14 million overnight, a life-changing moment that would instantly become one of the greatest modern discoveries in coin collecting history. Which is why collectors always say never ignore the pennies in your pocket, because history has shown again and again that incredible treasures often hide in the most ordinary places. And the next time you see a 1991-cent coin, take a closer look before spending it, because the possibility, however small, still exists that one extraordinary survivor is waiting to be found. A tiny copper coin carrying a story the world has not yet heard. And if you love uncovering hidden coin mysteries like this one and want to stay ahead of the next unbelievable discovery, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay alert, because the next legendary coin story could already be hiding in your pocket right now, waiting to change everything. Next, 1999 1-cent coin. Imagine reaching into your pocket, pulling out a simple penny, the kind people overlook every single day, the kind that slides across counters, disappears into jars, or vanishes under couch cushions, and realizing that this tiny copper-colored coin could secretly be worth $11 million. Because hidden somewhere among the billions of coins struck by the United States Mint in 1999 may exist one extraordinary survivor, a mysterious 1999 1-cent coin from the Denver Mint that appears completely ordinary at first glance, yet may contain within it a chain of minting anomalies, die mysteries, and production quirks so rare that collectors believe one perfect example could command an unbelievable $11 million if discovered and authenticated. And the story begins during the late 1990s, when the United States Mint was operating at an intense pace as the world approached the new millennium, producing enormous quantities of Lincoln cents to meet circulation demand. And inside the Denver Mint, massive coining presses pounded copper-plated zinc planchets into pennies by the millions every day, each coin carrying the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, along with a tiny D mint mark beneath the date that revealed its origin in Denver. And under normal circumstances, these coins would all be identical, part of the endless river of pocket change flowing through everyday life. But anyone who has studied coin history knows that the minting process is never completely perfect, because every die wears down over time, every machine requires adjustments, and every production line occasionally experiences tiny moments of confusion where the wrong die is installed, A damaged die is used longer than intended, or a transitional design slips briefly into production before being corrected. And when these rare moments happen, coins can be created that technically should not exist, coins that escape the mint before anyone notices the mistake and quietly enter circulation, where they remain hidden among ordinary coins for years or even decades. And the legend of the 1999 D penny begins with the possibility that during one of these moments something unusual occurred at the Denver Mint, perhaps involving a die hub adjustment, a misaligned die installation, or even a brief transitional pairing between different reverse hubs that were being tested or replaced during routine maintenance. And while most coins struck that year are completely normal, collectors have occasionally reported subtle variations appearing on certain 1999 pennies, including faint doubling in the lettering of Liberty or In God We Trust, tiny distortions in the numbers of the date, or slightly unusual sharpness in Lincoln's portrait caused by dies striking with slightly different pressure or alignment than usual. And these details may seem insignificant to the average person, but to a numismatist they represent clues, tiny signals left behind by the minting process that reveal exactly how a coin was created, and sometimes those clues lead to the discovery of an extraordinary rarity, a coin struck during a brief anomaly in production that escaped the mint unnoticed and survived long enough to be discovered decades later. And this is where the suspense surrounding the legendary $11,001,999 D penny begins to grow, because coins do not live gentle lives once they leave the mint. They travel constantly from hand to hand through grocery stores, gas stations, vending machines, banks, laundromats, and parking meters, many of them wearing down quickly or being lost, melted, or destroyed by high-speed coin processing machines that sort and roll thousands of coins every minute. Meaning that if a rare minting anomaly occurred in 1999, the overwhelming majority of those coins may already have vanished forever, leaving perhaps only a single surviving specimen hidden somewhere in the vast ocean of American pennies. And that terrifying scarcity is exactly what drives the incredible value associated with the mysterious 1999 D cent, because the coin collecting world is powered by the psychology of rarity, where the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth millions can come down to a single microscopic detail that proves it was never supposed to exist. And when collectors believe a coin represents a genuine minting anomaly that slipped through official controls, demand can explode instantly as museums, investors, and elite collectors compete to own the rarest examples of American coinage history. And if a unique or nearly unique 1999 D penny were discovered showing unmistakable evidence of a dramatic minting error or transitional die pairing, the excitement within the numismatic community would be immediate and intense. Experts examining the coin under powerful microscopes, studying die markers and strike characteristics, measuring weight and composition to confirm whether the coin was produced under unusual conditions that differed from normal 1999 production standards. And this process could reveal extraordinary details such as microscopic die cracks, unusual hub alignment signatures, or subtle alloy differences that prove the coin originated from a brief experimental or accidental production run inside the Denver Mint. And if such evidence were confirmed, the coin would instantly become one of the most famous modern Lincoln cents ever discovered, a tiny artifact representing a hidden chapter of minting history that escaped into circulation unnoticed for decades. And that is why the theoretical value of the most extraordinary 1999 D penny has been whispered to reach as high as $11 million. Because collectors understand that true uniqueness combined with mystery creates irresistible demand in the marketplace. And the possibility that such a coin might still be circulating somewhere today has driven countless people to search through jars of pennies, bank rolls, and pocket change, hoping to spot the tiny signals that separate the ordinary from the extraordinary. And stories circulate among collectors about individuals who once saw an unusual-looking 1999 penny but spent it without thinking, only later realizing that subtle differences in the lettering or date might have indicated something special. Moments that haunt coin hunters because they remind everyone how easily rare coins can slip past unnoticed, traveling silently through everyday life while carrying secrets worth millions. And the deeper collectors investigate the 1999 production year, the more fascinating the mystery becomes, because the late 1990s were a time of constant activity at the mint as dies were replaced frequently to maintain quality during enormous production volumes. And in that environment, the possibility always exists that a single die pair with unusual characteristics could have been used briefly before being removed, leaving behind a tiny population of coins that technically should never have been created. Coins that now blend perfectly with ordinary pennies yet hold the potential to transform the life of the person who discovers them. And this idea creates an almost cinematic sense of tension, because somewhere out there a worn penny dated 1999 with a small D mint mark might be sitting quietly inside a jar, a drawer, or a forgotten piggy bank, its surface is darkened by years of circulation yet still carrying the microscopic fingerprints of a minting anomaly that could rewrite numismatic history overnight. And if that coin were finally recognized and authenticated, the reaction across the collecting world would be explosive, headlines spreading across coin forums, auctions attracting global attention, collectors and investors competing fiercely to secure ownership of the legendary penny, and the price climbing higher and higher as the reality sinks in that a humble 1-cent coin has become an $11 million treasure, a symbol of how unpredictable the minting process can be and how extraordinary discoveries sometimes emerge from the most ordinary objects. And that is why coin experts always remind people never to ignore their pocket change, because history has already proven that incredible rarities can hide in plain sight for decades before finally being recognized. And the story of the 1999 D penny continues to inspire collectors around the world to keep searching, to keep examining the coins that pass through their hands every day, because the possibility remains that the legendary coin is still out there waiting to be found. A tiny piece of copper-plated zinc carrying a hidden story from the Denver Mint that the world has not yet fully discovered, and the person who finally uncovers it could experience the astonishing moment when a simple penny transforms into $11 million, turning an ordinary day into a life-changing discovery remembered throughout numismatic history. So the next time you see a 1999 D1-cent coin, pause before spending it and take a closer look, because within the endless river of pennies flowing through everyday life, one extraordinary survivor may still exist. And the deeper collectors investigate the mystery of the 1999 D1-cent coin, the more the story begins to feel like a hidden treasure hunt unfolding across time, because every year millions of pennies quietly disappear from circulation through wear, corrosion, or melting, meaning that if an extraordinary mint anomaly truly escaped the Denver Mint during 1999, the surviving population could now be unbelievably small, perhaps even limited to a single coin still moving silently through the economy. And that terrifying level of scarcity is exactly what transforms a humble 1-cent piece into a potential $11 million artifact, because the coin market thrives on rarity combined with mystery, and when those two forces collide, the results can be explosive, sending collectors across the world into a frenzy of searching, examining every 1999 D penny they encounter with magnifiers and microscopes, hoping to spot the subtle signals that separate an ordinary coin from a once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And those signals can be incredibly small, sometimes hidden within the fine details of the design, where the shape of the numbers in the date might appear slightly different, the D mint mark might sit in an unusual position, or the letters in Liberty and I in God We Trust might reveal faint doubling caused by a die that shifted slightly during the striking process. And while most of these characteristics appear on minor varieties worth modest premiums, the possibility remains that one extraordinary coin could exist showing a dramatic combination of errors, perhaps struck using a misaligned die pair or a transitional hub that briefly entered production before being replaced, creating a coin that technically should never have existed in the first place. And it is exactly this kind of accidental creation that fascinates numismatists, because coins like these represent frozen moments in mint history, evidence that even the most tightly controlled industrial processes can experience unexpected glitches that slip through unnoticed, leaving behind tiny metallic clues for future generations to discover. And during the late 1990s, the United States Mint was undergoing numerous technical adjustments as it prepared for increasing coin demand approaching the new millennium, replacing worn dies more frequently and refining strike pressure to maintain clarity in the Lincoln set design. And in the middle of such constant mechanical activity, the possibility always exists that a single die with unusual characteristics might have been installed briefly before technicians realized something was wrong, allowing a handful of coins to be struck and released into distribution before the mistake was corrected. And once those coins entered circulation, they would become almost impossible to track because pennies move rapidly through commerce, flowing through grocery stores, banks, vending machines, gas stations, and parking meters where they mix with billions of other coins, disappearing into jars and piggy banks where they might remain hidden for decades before someone decides to examine them carefully. And this unpredictable journey is exactly why so many legendary coin discoveries occur years after the coins were originally minted. Sometimes, when a collector sorts through a bag of old change, or when a family inherits a jar of pennies that has been sitting untouched in a drawer for generations. And every time such a jar is opened, the possibility exists that one extraordinary coin might be hiding inside, quietly waiting for the moment when someone notices that something about it looks just a little different from the rest. And the legend of the $11,001,999 D penny feeds on this possibility because collectors understand that the most valuable coins are often the ones that spent decades hiding in plain sight before being recognized. And when a new rarity is discovered, the entire numismatic community reacts with intense excitement. As experts analyze the coin surfaces under high magnification, searching for die markers, microscopic cracks, or hub alignment signatures that can reveal exactly how the coin was produced, and this investigation can feel like detective work, piecing together clues left behind by the minting process until the full story of the coin emerges. A story that might reveal a brief moment in 1999 when an unusual die pairing was used at the Denver Mint, striking coins that were never meant to exist but escaped into circulation before the anomaly was detected. And if such a coin were confirmed, the reaction across the coin market would be immediate because collectors crave the rarest and most mysterious pieces of mint history. And when only one or two examples are known, the competition to acquire them becomes intense, often pushing prices to levels that seem unbelievable for such a small object. Yet history has shown that rarity and historical intrigue can transform even the simplest coin into a priceless treasure, and the thought that one of those treasures might still be circulating today is what keeps coin hunters searching tirelessly through pocket change, bank rolls, and coin collections, hoping to find the legendary penny that everyone else overlooked. Because somewhere out there, a worn copper coin dated 1999 with a tiny D mint mark might be carrying a hidden story worth $11 million. A silent survivor of a minting mystery that began more than 2 decades ago and has yet to be fully revealed. And the person who finally discovers it will not only experience a life-changing moment, but will also become part of numismatic history. The individual who uncovered one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever known, proving once again that extraordinary treasures can hide within the most ordinary objects. Which is why collectors always say never ignore your pennies, because every coin has a story, and sometimes that story is worth millions. So the next time a penny passes through your hands, take a moment to look at the date and the mint mark before spending it, because the possibility, however small, still exists that the legendary 1999 D coin is waiting quietly in someone's pocket to be recognized. And if you enjoy discovering hidden coin mysteries like this and want to stay ahead of the next incredible find, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and stay alert, because the next unbelievable coin discovery could already be sitting in your change right now, waiting to change everything. Next, 1993 1 cent USA coin. What if the next penny you see lying on the ground the tiny copper coin most people ignore or toss into a jar without even thinking, secretly holds a story that could be worth $14 million, because hidden somewhere among the billions of coins struck in the United States during 1993 there may exist an extraordinary survivor. A mysterious 1993 1-cent coin that appears completely ordinary to the casual eye yet may contain within its metal the evidence of a rare minting anomaly, a production mystery, or a transitional die event so unusual that collectors believe a single verified example could command an astonishing $14 million if discovered and authenticated. And the story begins inside the powerful coin presses of the United States Mint during the early 1990s, when the demand for Lincoln cents remained enormous, and the mint facilities in cities like Philadelphia and Denver were producing millions upon millions of pennies every single day, machines operating with relentless precision as copper-plated zinc planchets slid into striking chambers, and were stamped with the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln along with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Coins that were designed to be completely identical, ordinary pieces of currency meant to flow endlessly through the American economy. Yet history has proven again and again that even the most carefully controlled minting process cannot completely eliminate the possibility of human error, mechanical wear, or experimental adjustments that sometimes create coins that were never intended to exist, coins that slip quietly past inspection and escape into circulation carrying tiny clues about the moment they were created. And it is within this complex world of high-speed mint production that the mystery of the 1993 penny begins to grow. Because during that period the United States Mint was constantly replacing worn dies, adjusting strike pressure, and occasionally testing minor refinements to improve the quality and durability of circulating coinage. And whenever dies are changed or adjusted there exists a brief window of opportunity for unusual events to occur. Perhaps a die from a previous production batch is accidentally installed for a short time. Perhaps a damaged die continues striking coins longer than expected, creating subtle doubling or distortion in the lettering. Or perhaps a die pair becomes slightly misaligned, causing tiny design differences that most people would never notice. And when such events happen, the resulting coins often blend perfectly into circulation because their differences are microscopic. Yet those tiny differences are exactly what collectors search for because they can reveal a hidden story of how a coin was created. And sometimes those stories lead to discoveries that transform ordinary pocket change into legendary rarities. And the 1993 1-cent coin has long attracted attention from observant collectors who have reported subtle variations in certain examples, including faint doubling on the date, unusually sharp design elements, slightly shifted lettering, and other die markers that suggest the possibility of brief anomalies occurring during production runs that year. And while most of these variations are minor and worth modest premiums, the possibility remains that one extraordinary coin may exist combining several unusual characteristics at once, perhaps struck during a moment when the wrong die was installed or when a transitional hub briefly entered production before technicians noticed and corrected the mistake, creating a coin that technically should never have been produced according to official mint specifications. And if such a coin escaped into circulation, it would immediately become one of the most fascinating modern Lincoln cent discoveries imaginable. A tiny metallic witness to a brief moment of confusion inside the mint that slipped past quality control and traveled silently into the world. And this is where the suspense begins to grow, because coins live unpredictable lives once they leave the mint. They move rapidly through commerce, passing from one person to another in grocery stores, gas stations, banks, vending machines, laundromats, and countless other places where few people ever stop to examine them closely. Some coins remain in circulation for decades, while others vanish quickly through wear, corrosion, or melting when damaged coins are removed from circulation and destroyed, meaning that if a rare 1993 mint anomaly truly occurred, the number of surviving coins today could be incredibly small, perhaps even limited to a single specimen still hiding somewhere among billions of ordinary pennies. And this terrifying level of rarity is exactly what fuels the enormous potential value associated with the mysterious $14,001,993 penny, because the coin collecting world operates on the powerful principle that when an object is both historically significant and extremely scarce, its value can rise beyond imagination, especially when collectors realize that only one or two examples may exist. And when rumors of unusual coins appear, experts immediately begin analyzing them under powerful magnification, examining the surfaces for microscopic die cracks, studying the alignment of design elements, and measuring the weight and metallic composition to determine whether the coin might represent a previously unknown minting event. And sometimes these investigations reveal astonishing discoveries that rewrite the history of coin production, turning what once seemed like an ordinary penny into a priceless artifact representing a moment when the minting process briefly deviated from its intended course. And the thought that such a coin could still be circulating somewhere today creates a powerful sense of excitement among collectors who search tirelessly through pocket change, bank rolls, and coin jars, hoping to find the subtle signals that separate an ordinary coin from a hidden rarity. And stories often circulate within the numismatic community about individuals who once noticed a strange-looking penny but spent it without realizing its potential significance, moments that haunt collectors because they suggest that extraordinary coins may have already passed through countless hands unnoticed, quietly traveling across the country through everyday transactions while carrying secrets worth millions of dollars. And the deeper researchers investigate the production history of 1993, since the more intriguing the mystery becomes, because the early 1990s were a period of continuous mechanical adjustment inside the mint as dies were replaced frequently to maintain design clarity under heavy production pressure. And during these transitions there is always the possibility that a single unusual die pairing may have been used briefly before technicians realized something was wrong, striking a small batch of coins with subtle differences that remained invisible to the public for decades. And if such a coin were discovered today, the reaction across the coin collecting world would be immediate and dramatic, as grading services rushed to authenticate it, historians examined the die characteristics, and collectors around the globe watched in fascination as a humble 1-cent coin became the center of international attention, potentially sparking intense bidding wars among elite collectors and investors determined to own the only known example of a mysterious mint anomaly. And that is why the legendary $14,001,993 penny continues to inspire coin hunters everywhere to examine their change carefully, because history has shown time and again that extraordinary rarities often hide within the most ordinary objects, waiting quietly for the moment when someone curious enough to look closely finally recognizes the difference. And the person who discovers such a coin will not only experience the life-changing realization that a simple penny has transformed into $14 million, but will also become part of numismatic history as the individual who uncovered one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever known, proving once again that the smallest objects can carry the greatest stories. So the next time a penny dated 1993 passes through your hands, pause for a moment before spending it and take a closer look, because somewhere within the endless river of coins flowing through everyday life, one extraordinary survivor may still be waiting to be discovered. And the deeper collectors dig into the mystery of the 1993 1-cent coin, the more the story begins to feel like a race against time, because every single day thousands of pennies disappear from circulation forever, crushed by heavy machinery, melted for metal recycling, lost in streets and parking lots, or simply worn down until they are removed from circulation by banks and destroyed. And if an extraordinary minting anomaly truly escaped the production lines in 1993, the number of surviving examples today could be unbelievably small, perhaps only a handful scattered across the entire world, or even just a single coin still moving quietly through the endless river of pocket change. And that terrifying possibility is exactly what turns the ordinary act of checking your pennies into a treasure hunt that fascinates collectors everywhere. Because the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth $14 million often comes down to details so tiny that most people would never notice them. Microscopic clues left behind by the minting process that reveal how the coin was created. And when experts study rare coins, they look for these clues with intense focus, examining the surfaces under powerful magnification to search for unusual die markers such as small cracks, doubled letters, distorted numbers in the date, or slightly shifted design elements that indicate a die was misaligned or damaged during production. And sometimes these clues lead to extraordinary discoveries where a coin reveals evidence that it was struck during a brief moment of mechanical confusion inside the mint, perhaps when a die was installed incorrectly, when a transitional hub was used for a short time, or when a worn die created dramatic doubling in the lettering before being replaced. And when such events happen, even for a few minutes, thousands of coins can be struck before technicians realize something unusual is happening, meaning a small population of anomalies could escape into circulation completely unnoticed, blending perfectly with billions of ordinary pennies for decades. And the 1993 cent is especially intriguing to collectors, because the early 1990s were a time when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of coins, while also performing constant maintenance and die replacement, creating countless opportunities for brief production irregularities that might never have been fully documented. And while most coins produced during these moments would appear normal to the average person, a trained collector examining them closely might notice tiny design differences that reveal the hidden story of how they were created. And these subtle differences can become the key to unlocking one of the most valuable discoveries in modern numismatics. Because when a coin is proven to represent a previously unknown minting anomaly, its rarity can ignite intense demand among collectors and investors eager to own a piece of history that should not exist. And this is exactly why the legendary $14,001,993 penny continues to capture the imagination of coin hunters around the world, because the possibility still exists that somewhere out there an extraordinary coin is waiting to be discovered. A penny struck during a fleeting moment of mechanical error that slipped past inspection and traveled silently into circulation, perhaps ending up in a jar of old coins, a forgotten piggy bank, or a bankroll that has never been carefully searched. And the thought that such a treasure might be hiding in plain sight creates a powerful sense of suspense, because anyone could encounter it at any moment without realizing it. A child receiving change at a store, a cashier counting coins at the end of the day, or a collector sorting through pennies late at night hoping to find something unusual. And every year stories emerge about rare coins discovered in the most unexpected places, proving that incredible treasures often remain hidden for decades before finally being recognized. And if the mysterious 1993 anomaly were ever confirmed, the reaction within the numismatic community would be immediate and dramatic. As grading services rushed to authenticate the coin, historians analyzed its die characteristics to determine exactly how it was produced. And collectors around the world watched in fascination as a simple penny suddenly became one of the most valuable coins of the modern era, potentially triggering a fierce bidding war between wealthy collectors determined to secure the only known example of such a rare piece, and the price climbing higher and higher, until the astonishing value of $14 million no longer seemed impossible but inevitable for a coin that represents a unique moment in the history of American minting. And the person who discovers that coin would experience a moment unlike any other in the world of collecting, the instant realization that something small and ordinary has transformed into a life-changing treasure, a discovery that would place their name forever in numismatic history as the individual who uncovered one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents ever found. And that is why collectors always repeat the same advice to newcomers entering the hobby: never ignore your pocket change, because the next legendary coin could be hiding right in front of you, waiting quietly for the moment when someone curious enough to look closely finally recognizes its secret. And the endless flow of pennies through everyday life means the search is always continuing somewhere. Someone examining a coin under a light, someone opening a jar that has not been touched in years, someone noticing that a single penny looks just a little different from the rest. And that moment of curiosity could be the beginning of one of the greatest discoveries in modern coin collecting, proving once again that history sometimes hides in the smallest objects imaginable. So the next time you see a 1993 1-cent coin, take a second before spending it and look carefully at the date, the lettering, and the details of the design, because within the billions of ordinary pennies there may still be one extraordinary survivor waiting to be found. And if you enjoy exploring hidden coin mysteries and want to stay ready for the next unbelievable discovery, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and stay alert, because the next legendary coin story might already be sitting quietly in your pocket right now, waiting to change everything.